Today on the road trip, we get behind the wheel of the Lincoln MKC. This is the brand's entry into the ever-growing compact luxury SUV market, and it's starting to get a little bit crowded. And when things are that crowded, you had better make sure that you come to market with everything that the buyers are expecting when it comes to technology as well as luxury. And it had better look pretty darn good too. We're going to talk to the exterior and the interior designers coming up, and if there's one thing you're about to notice, these guys are really young.
We started out, we had a few key words, phrases, if you will. One being this athletic grace that was used to kind of describe the overall aesthetic of the car and the proportion, the stance, if you will. And we use that also as well to kind of define some of the character of the car. You kind of look at the body side, it's got this nice muscular shoulders, and then there's some graceful lines as well that you kind of look at the roof line. It's got a very sleek, elegant shape.
Now, when you take a look at the front of the Lincoln MKC, you're going to notice the typical Lincoln styling cues, such as the split wing grille. It is very much specific to this vehicle, not borrowed. It's very much its own animal here. I love the hood sculpting here. This is absolutely exquisite. Doesn't borrow or even evoke images of any other Ford products, really, for me. You notice up here you do have the camera array, so that helps for the forward collision warning system. You've got your lighted array here when things are getting a little too close too fast, and then you have the brake support to occur to basically help you in getting that vehicle hauled down as quickly as possible. I kind of like the fact that it's not completely autonomous, because in my opinion people need to be engaged behind the wheel, not disengaged. Now, when you take a look down here, you've actually got quite a bit of gloss work, even in places where you wouldn't expect gloss work to be. Now, when you go over to the headlamp assemblies, these ones being the light tubes along the bottom for the daytime running light array, you also have little Easter eggs that exist here, and they're little Lincoln logos. You have to look for them, and it's always fun to find. There's also active grille shutters that exist for the Lincoln MKC, as well as the spats for the wheels to help direct the air around the vehicle and get you the best efficiency numbers possible.
So for us, the key signatures to show that it is a Lincoln would have to be the split wing grille that's on the front end. It's kind of our rejuvenation of the brand, and it is kind of our evolution from the MKZ. It's a little bit more athletic, it's a little bit more confident in its face. It suits the MKC very well. And then one of those other key characters is the taillights, the full width taillight. The MKZ started that kind of trend, and then we've carried it another step further and kind of given it this C-shaped graphic, hence the name MKC.
Now, in the back of the Lincoln MKC, you're going to notice that you actually do get quite a bit of cargo area here, even with the seats in place. And that's something that we find wanting in some of the other small premium utilities. Now, the one thing I did notice here is that there isn't a dedicated slot type of arrangement when you take the cargo area cover out. However, there actually is indentations here, and there's the handy mesh to help contain things, maybe such as a bottle of what have you. But the nice thing about it is that because those indentations are there, you actually have the room to be able to take this piece and put it down on the floor so that it's not going to be placed lengthways and rattling about. I really do like the fact that on this particular Reserve Edition, we've got this very robust type of cargo carpet. Now, when we roll it back, and you take a look inside, you've got your emergency style of spare tire and the necessary styrofoam biscuits to keep things from rolling about. This is handy too, because this is your hook. See, I can one-hand this stuff. and you plop up here, and that keeps it out of the way when you're wanting to access this. You also have provisions for the cargo net here, and handy place to store it. There's also these hooks here that pop out from the side like so. You've got those on both sides of the cargo area. The only thing that you may want to consider, and I would highly recommend, and I'm pretty sure is going to be available from the Lincoln camp for accessories, is something in the way of a landing pad here. We would hate to see this beautiful tri-coat get a little scuffed, so that might be something that you want to consider. Now, the beautiful thing about going with this one-piece clamshell style of tailgate is that you don't have the same architecture concerns, which means, how do I put this? Well, you can push out the opening for cargo just that little bit extra, and it may not sound like a lot, but when you think about how people want to use these types of vehicles, they may be downsizing from something larger, and they want to make sure that what they're stepping down to isn't going to limit the things that they like to do with their sport utility vehicle today. So when it comes to the actual cargo area opening, very square, very well sealed, and this is something we see throughout the vehicle. But the other thing too, with the power lift gate, it has things that we've seen on vehicles such as the Ford Escape, the abilities to kick your foot underneath and actually raise and lower the tailgate, which I'm not going to do now because that would hurt. But you also have the abilities, depending on where you park your vehicle, to actually adjust the height that this power liftgate will open to. So let's say you have a low garage, or let's say you're in a low parkade. That is something that you're definitely going to appreciate, because the last thing you want to do is go and dent all the hard work that's gone into this hydroformed piece of tailgate. You know, there's nothing finer than being greeted as though you're somebody special. And I think that's what the approach detection systems for the 2015 Lincoln MKC are about. Now, as you approach the vehicle, and actually about 8 feet away from the vehicle, is when the light show starts to begin. Illuminated Lincoln welcome mats. They appear on the ground beneath both front doors. Now, we'd first seen this technology on the Ford Mustang, but wow, what a way to class it up. The door handle pockets, well, they glow in a color that has actually been tuned to complement the exterior color of the vehicle. So the easiest way to explain it is you don't get the same lights depending on the color that you get. Now, the signature LED accent lights on the front headlamp assemblies and tail lamps, they look great, but you've also got the lit up rocker panels too. Now, the nice thing about those exterior mirrors is they've got the power folding capability, and everything inside when it comes to how the interior lights greet you, well, it's very theater style. Even the way that everything powers up on the instrument panel, the pulsating engine start-stop switch. It's all designed to interest not only the driver, but definitely the passenger. The Lincoln MKC is strictly an EcoBoost animal, the standard mill being the 2-liter EcoBoost 4 with 240 horsepower, 270 pound-feet of torque, and the 2.3. This is the one we've been driving today in California. This 2.3-liter EcoBoost gives you 285 horsepower and 305 foot-pounds of torque, mated to the Select Shift 6-speed automatic and with all-wheel drive standard equipment in Canada. The best way to explain it is that vehicles such as the GLK and the Q5 had better take notice in a real big hurry.
The Lincoln MKC offers class-leading technologies that enable safety features like lane keeping systems, blind spot information system, adaptive cruise control, and we're proud to say the segment-exclusive Park Out Assist. You may recall on prior models that we offered auto park aid to parallel park. Well, this technology allows a customer to pull out of a tight parking spot. And we think that's going to resonate with our customers, and it just reinforces our commitment to providing class-leading technology that is useful for this type of customer's driving experience.
Now, practicality for folding down the seats. Well, this is something that I thought was really slick, because it's amazing how many seats that I actually have to, well, really manipulate to fold down. And I think that Lincoln has done an excellent job here by making sure that you've got the tip forward style of headrests. Now, why is that important? Well, when you're folding the seat down, as I bunk my microphone, like so, that gives you the proper clearance. There's a lot of vehicles where you don't have this ability, and it's going to get, well, a little bit annoying when you're trying to fold down the seat backs. Now, the other thing, too, is, as you can see, we're dealing with, well, something that is certainly not respectable for launching your Hot Wheels off of. This is a very flat style of load floor arrangement here that you normally don't see on these types of vehicles. Some of them can be more about here. So that's something to consider. You also have the necessary latch points for child seats. The center pull-down armrest here in the back seat, it does have a rubberized type of cincher here for, in fact, I'll take it out and I'll show it to you. Looks like that. Pop it back into place. Now, this particular Reserve Edition does have the rear two-step heated seats. Very important to have, especially for Canada. The headrests also have the ability to tilt forward like so. So it can give you just that right amount of comfort for long trips. Well, I wanted to step into the driver's seat of the Lincoln MKC and show it off a little bit. This particular new wheel, exceptionally well done. Some of the softest leathers that you can imagine are being used at this reserve trim level. The switchery, as I like to call it, for the steering wheel has been put together in such a way that it is not too large, though it's still easily accessible. The paddles, that's right, standard paddles for the Lincoln MKC, again, subdued. They're there when you need them, and they certainly add to the driving pleasure. At the same time, not looking like, well, Prince Charles' ears, I guess is the best way to explain it for the rest of the Canadians. The stitching that has been done throughout here has been done in such a way that, I mean, you can definitely feel the craftsmanship when you touch it, that tactile feel. Most importantly, and this is something that other manufacturers have definitely goofed on, is they haven't put contrast stitching on the top of the dash topper here. Why would you ever think about doing that? Well, I'll explain why you don't want to do it. Because then you get this reflection in the glass, and that's there forever. So you want to make sure when you're test driving a vehicle that has this type of work on it, is it impeding in any way, shape, or form with the glass? This does not happen. The way that the speaker grills are executed, this beautiful center stack here, incorporated with the automatic shifter, which we first saw on the MKZ. Knobs, nice to have knobs, nice to have switches again. We miss the switches. There's also exceptional front cup holder. You've got the abilities to plug in 2 USBs. There's also a line-in jack, 12-volt DC. The center console, I was thinking it might benefit from actually having a slide capability here, so that's something I might like to see later on. There is 3 memory positions for the driver's front seat, definitely appreciated. And the other thing you'll notice here too is that on the side glass, because they've moved the exterior rear view mirrors to pedestal mounts, well, by doing that, you get the ability to open up and actually put this small spotter pane ahead. It may sound like a little thing, but it really makes the difference, especially in regards to spotting pedestrians. Now, the other thing too is that the A-pillars have been designed in such a way where the glass pretty much goes to the edge, so you don't have anything large on the outside that's impeding, and because it curves to the outer edge, the one thing that I really like about it, why is it every time I'm in California, there's always, okay, I'm just going to wait for the police helicopter to go over, and he's gone. Okay, now let me get back to the A-pillars. The one thing I like about them is that they as much as they need to be strong and robust with the high-strength steels and such to help with rollover protection and side impact, this is not an A-pillar that you're going to have a hard time seeing around just the way that they've designed it with the way that the windshield fits into it. It's actually very comfortable to drive. There's no concern that you have that you're going to, say, lose a pedestrian in the A-pillar as you pass around a corner. So definitely well executed there. Again, I think of things like a Tivoli radio, that really fancy chair that I can't remember the name of, that I'll throw a picture in for it right about now. Everything about the interior of the MKC has been done with what I guess the best way to describe it is luxurious restraint, if that's a word, if that's a way to describe an interior. It's very tasteful, it's very well executed, touch points, trim, everything about it inside. It's an experience. You're being welcomed into this interior. And I know it sounds a little geeky to talk like that, but you want to be welcomed into a Lincoln. By going to the one-piece clamshell style of tailgate, the one thing that you'll notice immediately is the fact that the tail lamps have not been cut in any way, shape, or form. You actually have a full-length style of tail lamp, which is going to definitely make the difference when it comes to people seeing you from the rear. Now, the other thing, too, is that you don't have to compete with this area here when it comes to the glass area. This actually has one of the best viewing panes when it comes to vehicles in the class, for whether it's a premium SUV or a compact SUV, and the I guess you'd call it the middle class. I also like the shark fin antenna up top. Never was a fan of those little black XM Sirius pads that Ford used to put onto its vehicles. And beautiful array below when it comes to the dual exhaust outlets. Again, the only thing that you're definitely going to want to consider is the landing pad. Now, you'll notice that it's hidden when the clamshell is closed, but you want to make sure that you have some sort of protection there. It's just going to, well, make you feel better about the investment for the long term. Well, I decided that we should step inside the Lincoln MKC and get a feel for all of the design elements that have been put into it that really set it apart from the competition. And who better to ask than Antonio Molinari? He is the lead interior designer for the Lincoln MKC. Antonio, thanks for joining us today inside the MKC on the road trip.
Thank you for having me.
So, Antonio, tell me a little bit about how your vision came to be for this vehicle inside, and when you think about what a lot of other luxury manufacturers are doing in this segment and how they're trying to benchmark their vehicles and really set them apart, how do you bring it all together? And I guess there's also the question of how do you bring it all together with some elements of the exterior design?
Okay. Well, I can start with mainly looking at the architecture of the interior. I know being a small premium utility vehicle, spaces, you want a lot of space. So just setting up the architecture of the interior, just pushing the air registers as far outboard as possible, creating more width, like visual width when you look at the interior. Also this area right here, normally Lincoln DNA is like a flow through, like the MKZ. And then with this interior, I wanted to open this up, creating even more space, more visual space. And the whole idea is we want this warm, inviting, spacious environment. So we're letting in a lot of light through the vista roof, creating visual width, and then opening up more space with, not having the shifter here. You can put the push button prentice here. Don't have to package a shifter there, and it just opens up visually. Space is at a premium, so just trying to fight to get as much space as we can.
Well, what I like about what's occurred in here from my perspective is that there's so many vehicles that are concentrating on the use of their screens for accessing the technology. And while a lot of the screens that are out there are working exceptionally well, including a lot of the Ford and Lincoln systems, I long for the days of knobs. I long for the days of switches and having that tactile feel that you've actually engaged what you wanted to engage. And what I love here, and I know it sounds like such a simple thing, but having volume controls and tuner knobs and not having to go into screens to access things such as your heated seats, your HVAC controls, but the beauty of it is that it's almost a three-way situation. You can do it from the steering wheel, a lot of it being voice activated, a lot of it still being able to use your fingertips.
Yeah, the knobs with the MKZ it was actually, it had sliders, and just with marketing and feedback that we had from other customers that a lot of people wanted the knobs. It introduces the idea of more jewelry, and then on top of that, you can blindly find your controls without having to, like with the sliders, I found myself always looking to place my finger and then slide it along the surface. This you can blindly find and control without taking your eyes off the
Well,
road.
I have found that the haptic swipes and that sort of thing. I mean, it's all in the English. It's
Yes,
all in
yeah,
how you
yeah.
do it, and sometimes that can be difficult for different types of drivers. But the other thing too is when you take a steering wheel like this one here and you reimagine it for the Lincoln brand, and at the same time realizing that you still want to put all of the, as I like to say, the switchery into it, the abilities to access things without your eyes leaving the line of sight. Now, you've actually done it in such a way where these switches, the five-way control switches on both sides here, accessing the different menus, it looks as though it grew there, I guess is the easiest way to explain it.
Yeah, I think everything's pretty seamless. The design, all the elements kind of work together. You got a lot of snap and acceleration here. It kind of flows. I mean, there's a gesture that's continuous through exterior, interior, just a similar form language. And then, we really concentrate on a really nice section of the wheel. You have the Euro stitching with the Woolsdorf leather, it's like butter. So, I mean,
It is
it
like
just
butter.
adds quality.
Well, speaking of buttery things in here, there's also the Bridge of Weir Deep Soft Leathers.
Yes.
And that's a Lincoln exclusive. And I mean, the fact that it's also been done in such a way that it's not using a lot of the nasty processes that we normally knew to happen when it came to leather products.
Yeah, this is, let's see, this is 16 hours of softening compared to the normal 2 hours.
16 hours.
Yes. So,
Well, okay, that explains why it's baby bum soft. It's definitely some of the nicest seats, and also very thick in the bolstering. There's really been some concentration here in the fact that this vehicle is going to be driven dynamically.
yeah, the performance of the vehicle, I think it asks for you to actually be cupped in the seat. It kind of, it's almost like a sport seat, like where it keeps you in the middle, and because, like you're probably finding out, you can probably push the car to the limits with turning, cornering, and it's pretty athletic.
Well, we definitely did today, and again, the other elements here that really pop, that are really going to get people's attention, the open pore woods, the THX2 system, just the way that things such as even the front speaker grills have been integrated. It really does, if you take a look at it here, and the split wing idea seems to continue here, almost that this entire segment seems to be something that could take flight.
Yeah, I mean, it's honest surfacing. It's not overstyled. It's still there's visual interest with really athletic, energetic graphics, but still lets the eye relax. Sometimes you see interiors that they look like they're trying so hard, and they overstyle it. They put too much into it, and it comes off like a person trying too hard. And I like the honesty of it. So, and you can see the line work. We were targeting more of a younger crowd, so a lot of the line work, it has a lot more snap and acceleration. You can see it in the door lines, and I think it just shows capability. It shows like a athletic tone athlete, but not like a bodybuilder where it can sometimes be intimidating. The athletic tone person's more approachable, and I think this kind of simulates some of that. Just line work, you go from a sculptural line to a graphical line. There's a lot of elegance in that.
Well, and it's that beauty of simplicity, simplicity with style, with class, with something that has that level of refinement, but as you say, hasn't been overdone. And I have to say, so far, that is definitely the feeling that we're getting here in the Lincoln MKC. So, Antonio, I think you've done an excellent job of designing the interior here.
Thank you.
Well, with MKC, we think we're going to attract a few different customer groups. One of them being baby boomers, who are going to be interested in the utility and functionality that this vehicle brings and offers. Second group is going to be younger families. Younger families, again, will look for the utility and functionality that MKC will bring to them. And we also think there'll be some individuals who are looking to downsize, who will also be looking at MKC as an option for them. What are all these customers looking for in a vehicle? It's functionality, it's utility. Design is also very important, and we believe MKC is going to hit the mark from a design perspective for these individuals. Other areas of the segment that customers look at is all-wheel drive. And they also look at functionality, technology, what types of lifestyle attributes can you bring in terms of connectivity, as well as safety and drive dynamics. And MKC will deliver on all those fronts with the latest technology with My Lincoln Touch, with the latest drive technology, all EcoBoost engine lineup with great horsepower and torque, all throughout the torque curve, as well as with a lot of the safety and technology we have around drive control, which is our continuously controlled dampening system, which all really boils down to. It's going to deliver a great ride and handling in many different modes that the driver will be able to select.
The 2015 Lincoln MKC rides atop Ford's C-segment architecture. Now that's the same belly that you'll find under things like the current Focus and the Escape. That's right about where the similarities end, especially for Canadians. While a front driver will be available in other markets, all Canadian MKCs are strictly all-wheel drive. Now that upgrade is of extreme benefit in the suspension department, thanks to continuously controlled damping, which is part of the all-wheel drive component list. The intelligent all-wheel drive system would surely receive the first star nod for this playoff game, and it saved my bacon on a few California corners. Then there's the Lincoln Drive Control, which marries the active dampers with speed-sensitive electric power steering, plus 3 drive modes: normal, comfort, and sport, which is pretty much where we left it. Now we did do our best to test all modes, sometimes in their polar opposite driving conditions. And here's a Captain Obvious note for you. A comfort mode in the twisty bits feels like a worn-out 1985 town car. The favorite, definitely sport, and there's an immediate change in throttle response, plus a noticeable finesse-flavored aggression in the shift map with automatic downshifting and a sensibility for holding just the right gear in the hilly portions of the drive route. If that's just too sensible, you can always start messing with the paddle shifters, which, as we've mentioned, are standard equipment for the 6-speed automatic. Now, if you really want that 2.3-liter EcoBoost between the strut towers of your Lincoln MKC, just remember that you're going to be paying for it. The MSRP of the reserve level, which is the only trim of the MKC in Canada to get that 2.3, is $49,650 plus $1,750 destination. Now remember, that's 285 horses, 305 foot-pounds of torque. It'll run on regular grade fuel, but just so you know, the numbers that we're talking about were achieved with premium. Now, as for how MKC is going to do in Canada, here's my final four-wheeled thought. Start pricing out just how much a fully loaded Ford Escape costs. And then when you start to take a look at how many additional features, plus the class factor that you get with the Lincoln MKC that arrives as standard equipment, I gotta tell you, I think it's not so much about the competition, it's about what's going on internally that's going to drive the Lincoln MKC sales.